Iron Giant vibes from what I heard.
That's for sure what the poster looks like. Yeah, it looks good.
That's kind
I'll try to be
of
awake.
the heater.
I'll probably try to steal the car again.
So we're there you go. We're talking about movies.
Yeah.
And I just saw something on Instagram that may or may not be true, but I like the idea of it altogether. And that's that.
I think it's true if we believe in it.
It's that Step Brothers, which is a movie that I refuse to see. Yes, is Sacramento Life posted this. Is supposed to be set in Sacramento, apparently.
Yeah. You've never seen it ever?
No.
You've never seen it either?
I've seen parts of it.
I've only seen the "Did we just become best friends" thing.
It's just another one that's so dumb but it's so funny. I mean, so is Dumb and Dumber. I even remember as a kid my dad seeing Dumb and Dumber because I wasn't allowed to see it. It came out in like '94, so I'm like 6 or 7, and I remember my dad come back from the theater and he's like, "That was so dumb and so funny." I was like, "Man, like I wish I could watch dumb funny shit." And Step Brothers probably is my generation's Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, maybe so. That or Anchorman.
Anchorman's really good.
I've not seen that either.
Yeah.
I just don't have a much of a tolerance for Will Ferrell or Jim Carrey. Those are my problems.
Yeah. I found another really funny video of Jim Carrey. I think I just sent it to Kyle. He's like in the club with like 50 Cent in like 1999. And he's like just being 100% himself, just dancing like a freak. He's just and 50's like rapping. It was so funny.
What's funny is I like Jim Carrey. I just don't like Jim Carrey in movies.
I actually there's a lot of people I'm like that with. In early Jim, I'm not as much of a fan. I'm not like a Ace Ventura guy.
Yeah.
Like I'll watch it and I like I don't know if respect's the right word, but I understand it for what it is. But it doesn't like make me actually laugh. But a couple of them do. Like Yes Man, I really like. What's the one about God?
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty, I like. Like those when he's toned down just a hair.
Yeah.
The Truman Show. I love The Truman Show.
I like The Truman Show a lot. Yeah.
Right, because he's just in a different. He's not wacky.
Right. He's not being wacky. He's being human.
Yeah. And I think he really is. There's a commencement speech that Jen Wiederstrom sent me years ago that he does at like some art school. I don't think it's Hofstra.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. He's like has his art, and that makes me really like him.
Yeah, no, I agree. What else did he? Oh, isn't he in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's
too.
good.
That's a real mind trip, but it's a good movie.
No, yeah, even Truman Show the first time you watch it, right?
Yeah.
Pre-spoilers.
I saw that sucker in the theater.
Yeah, pre-spoilers, you're like, oh fuck, like that kind of hits you. No, he's good. Yeah, he's definitely wacky.
So yeah, back to movies and Step Brothers. There's actually a sign, a real estate sign that appears in Step Brothers that has a 916 area code, which is right where we are. Yeah. Especially then, I think we have 2 area codes now, but we only had 1 then.
We're still at 916.
We're still mainly 916.
What's I wonder if it's the exact same post I saw. It shows like the King's banner.
I didn't see the King's banner, but
is it multiple? So it goes.
There are a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, it screenshots a bunch of shit from the movie and saying why it has to be Sacramento, and there's Raiders and Niners gear. You're like, well, that's odd, right? Because if you're in the Bay, you're probably not going to have that.
Yeah.
But if you're in Sac, you might have that.
Yeah.
And then the 916 poster is like a definite.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it does talk about the Catalina wine mixers like the biggest thing, and obviously you could still go, but that's down in L.A.
Yeah.
So I always assumed it was in the suburbs of L.A. But then there's another screenshot where there's like a corner of an old school Kings poster,
right,
that you can see, and like no one, obviously, like how it's sad, but no one out of Sacramento is a Kings fan. Yeah. There's no such thing.
True.
I cannot find that post.
I sent it to Gio this morning.
Okay,
because that's one of Bart and Gio's favorite movies. Let's see. I'll find it.
So you can bring it up. Also, speaking of movies, and okay, I'm gonna date myself.
It was Sacramento Life, yeah.
I'm gonna date myself, but if I buy myself dinner, it means I can have a good time with myself later. But I saw a movie over our little break here called Heartbreakers Beach Party, which was Cameron Crowe's first movie that he directed. And it's a documentary about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in 1982 and 83 while they were making the Long After Dark album.
Yeah.
And in spring of 1982, Tom Petty did a Q&A at UCLA. And I went.
Oh, that's sick.
Because it was when I was living in SoCal. I went, and he's like, I'm not sure exactly why I'm doing this, but like I'm going to do this. And they shot it for the movie And I'm sitting there watching it. We watched it at the Tower. Sitting there watching it, it's like, oh, the scene comes up. And it's like, I was there. That was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and my friend who was actually going to UCLA at the time, because I was not, I was at Loyola, either didn't remember or didn't go, and I can't remember myself whether she was there or not. But
there's a lot of random music stuff. I watched. Fuck, I'm blanking, but it was We Are the World.
Oh, there's a documentary.
On that.
Yeah,
so we
I
watched that,
yet.
And then fucking, as you know it, Quincy Jones just
passed. Yeah.
But that documentary was really cool.
Was it?
Yeah, a lot of BTS of weird shit. Not weird shit, but like shit you don't expect. You know, and then you're seeing like, yeah, every celebrity you could ever imagine like being themselves because they're all locked up in a studio.
Right.
And I'm sure that footage is somewhere, but I've definitely never seen it. And seeing like Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson be like homies inside of a house was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
My understanding was that they went in without actually a song to record, and they had to come up with something like.
It was something like, like Quincy had like, Quincy didn't know it. Michael and Richie like wrote the melody, but they didn't have it like pieced.
Lyrics.
Yeah, and they didn't have it all pieced, and then they didn't. I think even when the celebrities were there, they didn't know who was going to sing what.
Yeah, that
was part of it. So they're trying to piece all that together. Without like, you know, pissing people off. And then they only had like 3 hours to film the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it was the night, I think, after the Oscars or Grammys.
I think Grammys, yeah.
And so then like everyone had to leave, obviously. But they talk about like interview like a security guard or like an assistant, like a cameraman's like second day. And he's talking about the cars pulling up and who's in them and stuff. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, all in whatever.
Was
Sunset Boulevard that made it all famous.
Where was it?
I think L.A. Oh, the movie?
Yeah.
I think Netflix. I think.
I gotta look it up.
I watched it with my mom's. It was good. A lot of those stuffs are good. Like Jimmy Iovine, I've seen his documentaries, like not about Dre Beats, but about Tom Petty and everything else he's done in music.
I have to see that too. This Tom Petty album I was talking about was the last one I think that they did with Jimmy Iovine.
Oh yeah.
Before they switched over. I think the next one is what's his name from ELO.
Yeah. There's a big one I think with the Red Hot Chili Peppers supposed to come out, a big documentary.
I would watch that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of cool shit. It does, like we've talked about many times as we reviewed movies. Things go in like flows of what's cool or not. It seems like we're kind of in like a music flow because I think that We Are the World one's newish.
Yeah, I know it's just the last few months. I think. Yeah.
And then this Red Hot Chili Peppers one, they're slowly hyping up. We got Mike Tyson fighting in a week.
Who's he fighting this time? I'm not.
Jake Paul. But the cool thing I think is that it's Netflix's step into live sports.
Oh.
Yeah.
Only took like a year.
It took. He had a stroke or something. Yeah. Poor guy, or a stroke scare. But I think that's interesting to see what Netflix is going to do because it's getting stale and divided. Like we talked about, you have to have 18 services just to watch what you like.
Yeah, I've had my finger on that for a while. There's a podcast I listen to called The Town where they talk a lot about like the streaming services and how the evolution of streaming services. Like the crazy thing, I don't know if you watched any of the Olympics on Peacock, but like that was a great way to get the Olympics. There were a lot of events that were there that you couldn't see anyplace else or whatever, and they had great viewership and stuff, and they still lost like $250,000, $250 million. I don't know. It's just they lost a lot of money in that quarter that should have been, you know,
their biggest month.
Yeah. So
a lot of stuff like that's weird. It does feel like it's almost going backwards, not only business wise but viewership wise. Like, I remember probably 2010, like right as these probably Netflix is becoming streaming versus DVD type stuff, and True TV, which I don't know who they're owned by. Maybe
Warner.
They for March Madness basketball had kind of an option like that, like on your TV where you could choose like any game.
Yeah.
You know, like Red Zone and shit in NFL was all kind of new, and I was like, oh, this is so amazing. And then like now to watch a March Madness games feel like I gotta Google
where it is
and then buy something new or do a 7-day trial. Like it's fucking impossible. Like it really has gotten more complicated. And although cable and DirecTV and stuff was like kind of expensive, it was like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
You know, like you pretty much got all you wanted. And then on demand, you know, whatever, around 2010, they had hella movies you could click on that were basically streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has just gotten overly complicated. But I bet you it'll correct itself somehow. Like YouTube TV, I think's a slight recorrect in what users actually want.
Yeah, I think that just in terms of streaming, I feel like Paramount Plus, Peacock, and one other of the smaller ones need to band together and make one thing that could. They're not going to ever compete with Netflix because Netflix is just so ingrained. Yeah. Unless Netflix really falls off. I mean their original offerings are a little bit of a mixed bag, and they've cut back on those some.
Yeah.
But then they do something like bringing in Suits and have it just explode.
Right. I think that's part of it. They'll just play the numbers game so they get one hit and throw a little bit more money at it.
Yeah.
And they do. They just like try to play the volume game. There's new shit on it every fucking week.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Netflix, the HBOs, the Hulus, they're kind of hard to beat. Part of it is, like DirecTV didn't have DirecTV originals, right? They were happy being the provider.
Yeah.
Where Netflix and these companies are producers, providers, everything. And so, it gets a little hairy.
It's either that or Apple buys some of them or whatever. Apple doesn't so much care about like ratings as much. It's just having a significant viewership in the demos that they're looking for to sell Apple shit.
Yeah, you wonder when Apple, obviously they got the most money, but Apple or Netflix start just buying up these bitches.
Yeah, or Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon for sure. What's the other one? Something crazy just happened. I'm clicking on something, and there's like options. Fuck, what was it?
Disney?
No, it's something like that doesn't do like TV. Maybe even Google. There might be like a Google.
That's YouTube TV though. Google is YouTube TV.
Fuck. What app was I on? I was on something, and there's a little like thing creeping in there, like, oh, watch something here. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna stream now too.
Chick-fil-A.
No way.
I
like that. A little home drive-in.
What? Chick-fil-A is producing content for their own streaming service. Yeah.
Just chicken movies only. Anti-cow propaganda.
I don't even understand.
That's amazing.
I don't even get that.
Yeah, that's random.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy. I don't understand why anyone would be like invested in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chicken sandwich TV.
With everything being so like centrally located on your phone, if you have an insane amount of users for whatever, you could easily just flip it, right? Like MyFitnessPal. They're bought by Under Armour. They could easily start just showing sports docs.
Yeah.
They have 1 billion users. Like what do they care now? An Apple or Chick-fil-A, if they have enough people on their app, just start playing some fucking movies.
I wonder what kind of value they actually got out of that that purchase.
Under Armour?
Yeah.
Probably not much. They've tried so hard. It just never. We went to some random outlets when I was in the coast, and there was an Under Armour one. I was there with my little cousin who's like 17. Yeah, they just never like really done it. And they've done like the right things, you would think, right? They signed Steph Curry, who's one not only the best players but coolest players. Like people really like him. No one's really wearing a shoe. I was like touching their stuff in there, and like it just like hasn't evolved, and it's actually kind of devolved. Like the first Under Armour shit I bought in like high school was like so quality, like it was amazing, and like now it feels like every other techie type shirt, and then like it doesn't even like look that good. They tried to do the thing with The Rock, which probably got some peons to buy it.
They did Dark Knight Rises. They did the uniforms, the football uniforms.
So I think that was their real like come up was Friday Night Lights.
Yeah,
they did the uniforms in that, and then they became the tough guy football gear, and they should have kind of just stayed in that. And I think going with The Rock was their move back to that, like training centric, but it just never really worked. There's other companies crushing it, like Puma Basketball, which is only like less than 7 years old, is probably beating them in basketball.
Yeah, Nike's having trouble right now too.
They got a
lot of trouble.
Yeah, they got the new CEO, so it'll probably be 12 months before we see maybe a rebound or more decline.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, these really big companies that have been successful in the past, we kind of look up to them and say, okay, what are they doing and what are they doing right and how do we emulate that or whatever? And then something comes along and they suck.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. The barrier to entry on any business is the lowest it's ever been in the history of mankind. So, like, what is it, On, the Swiss shoe company?
Yeah.
They popped up out of the last 4 years, and they're already in the billions.
Going crazy.
They're going out. Like, I was just like, when I travel, because I don't really go in public much, but if I go to an airport or something, I'll start looking at people's sneakers and outfits, like who's wearing what. On's everywhere.
It's On and like Hoka.
Yeah, On, Hoka, New Balance.
Yeah.
You know, for the everyday John.
It's crazy that New Balance has got any like cred at the moment because because they used to just be dad shoes.
Yeah.
You know,
but dad shoes are cool all of a sudden, which I like because to me it's a sign of comfort being the leading merit in what you purchase. And then two, they've had really good partnerships. They partner with a company me and Sebastian like a lot, AIM Leon Dior, like a higher end streetwear brand. They've done great collaborations with them, and they made the right moves. Where like Jordan brand still has some legs, and Jordan brand's like real estate or something. It's just like in a 10-year cycle of people thinking it's cool or not. Yeah. So they'll come back in 5 years. But Nike itself is definitely hurting. Like the base Nike.
Yeah.
China, there's like 2 or 3 Chinese companies, Anta, Peak, that are making real ripples both in basketball and everyday shoes. Saucony's making a comeback.
Saucony.
Like a bunch of shit. It's just, if you have a good marketing campaign, now you don't have to pay the dollars because you have Instagram. Yeah. So that everyone kind of has a free run at it. Noble, like all these companies that obviously aren't on that level, but they were sparked out of nothing. If you have $50,000, you can start a shoe company now.
Yeah. I say that the barriers to entry are lowest, but the failure rates are highest.
For sure, because it's more competitive. It's more saturated. There's more dreamers, but there's also more like random kids that were drawing sneakers in 7th grade that now can do something that are talented. Where back then, you would just end up in college and be stuck. Like the climbing Mount Everest of starting a shoe company when I was a kid seemed impossible.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a thought, right? Because there's Nike, Adidas, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, like fuck, if you wanted to, we could. 3D shoes are coming in hot.
3D shoes?
3D printed.
Oh, 3D printed shoes. Oh, yeah. Like totally to your measurements, which is something that's been around for a little bit, but that was like that was like customized on demand kind of whatever. And this is
Adidas put out at least the first big brand one this year in October. And they're not that expensive. I'm thinking about getting a pair, and they look sick. And people say they're crazy comfy, and they're trying to be performance models. I think On is the first one that's going like top-end running 3D printed sneaker that comes out soon.
I would do that just because fitting my feet is so challenging. Because my instep is so wide and my heel is so narrow. And it's like I have to tie them in a particular way to keep them from slipping off.
Yeah, I think these shoes, like obviously the bigger brands don't like measure your foot to make them, but I think the material is malleable to your foot like a Birkenstock type vibe. So once you wear it for a while, it's supposed to get crazy comfy. Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I switched to Hoka's a year or so ago from New Balance because I was having like quality issues with New Balance. I would order a particular size and it would not be that size when it came.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it would say that it was, but
it didn't fit the same.
No, it didn't fit the same.
A lot of their stuff, like these ones I have, like are old and beat up, but they were actually made in the U.S. and like a lot of companies, they only have certain models now they make in the U.S. And certain elsewhere. So I wonder if it's the elsewhere ones.
Oh, it probably is.
Yeah.
Probably is because I mean, as fat as America is, you would think there would be more big ass shoes, but they're not. And
true. Yeah, that is a benefit of both those companies, though. They have like wide options. Like you can't get a wide Nike,
right?
But getting a wide Hoka is so normal.
Right. I think I may have had one pair of Nike shoes ever, and they always hurt my feet.
Yeah, they've changed a little bit. When I was a kid, even I had wide feet and I couldn't wear Nike. Now I can wear them pretty good, but. We shall see.
Yeah, I'm in the 4E, 5E zone.
Yeah, that was my dad. My dad's foot literally looks like square.
Yeah,
yeah.
My older son Jake, he could have just worn the boxes the shoes came in. Because they were so
little Roblox.
So
character.
square. Yeah,
that's what my dad kind of looked like too. Then you just buy then you just have to buy expensive. Like, is it Edmund Allen? What's like some crazy expensive dressy shoes?
I'm not sure about brands. I get a catalog all the time from a company called Hitchcock that sells. They like aggregate wide shoes, and I think they private brand some as well.
Yeah, he would buy like some and he wore them every day because he had to wear a suit every day. But yeah, you buy some $500 shoes that make extra wide. And get your value out of them.
Yeah, I've also gotten shoes where they were supposed to be the right size and they weren't, and I've stretched them fuckers out. Just like get shoe stretchers and so my toes are not constantly rubbing.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I know this is an exciting topic for a podcast.
Calluses and shit. They like shoes. Fuck them.
Yeah, there we go.
Fuck them all.
Yeah.
Now we're into the drama, the diversiveness of the drama. That's what we're getting into, Sebastian.
Oh, okay.
So I was just reading this this Reddit post from the powerlifting subreddit about corruption in the WRPF, and like I will just I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously, because you can just go, as long as it's still there, you can go read it on Reddit. But Anna Perez, who was vice president of WRPF, wrote a resignation letter to Russell Kern, who owns or is president or whatever.
That I don't know. So, yeah, for those that don't know, powerlifting's been fucked, right? There's federations everywhere. It's kind of like boxing. There's no champion. We go by world records, but even, depending on your judge and everything, and even the federation could be so different. The two major camps are untested and tested, right? Untested might be arguably the predominant world over the last 40 years. Over the last 10, USAPL, IPF, and now Powerlifting America have made strides to kind of even it out. I don't know the numbers, but culturally it feels even-ish now. But again, over the last 40 years, I would say untested was a more common world to hang out in. And those federations have recycled themselves time and time again. The most predominant over the last 20, probably you would argue, is the USPA and the WRPF. The WRPF is the newer of the two and maybe had like a 10-year run at it, but they started putting on really big money meets, some of the biggest lifters internationally with some bases in Russia, like the Yuri Belkins and the Kirils, and people would compete in that. Then we have equal issues on the natty side, where we had the USAPL kind of monopolize it for a while, and in my opinion, one of the only good forms of monopoly, where you have like a singular focused competition, right? The NBA is only cool because the best go there. And they were the route to the IPF, which was the world stage. And then it broke off, I think, on their own, slightly got kicked out, but it was because they dug their 10 toes down, as the kids say, they wanted stricter drug testing, I believe, and the rest of the world wouldn't keep up. So then Powerlifting America was formed, which then again dilutes the competition base for at least the United States and tested world. And the untested world, the USPA, WRPF, I think those are the only ones that were like pretty relevant consistently over the last 10 years, have both had mega dramas. On the legal side, not even like depths. We're not talking squat depth. We're talking, throw these motherfuckers in jail and lose the key type shit.
Yeah, supposedly the APF has been on the verge of serious legal criminal problems as well, which is, I guess, why there's an APO. The people who were under suspicion left and created the APO, and
yeah, it's like the Civil War in America. They're just making like new little groups to fight the North. Yeah.
Well, let me just run down the headlines of this particular.
So this is pretty new, though.
This resignation letter was sent in August.
Because the WRPF
end of August,
over the last 4 years, because I think the Kern dissolved a while ago, and that was like, I think $40,000 for the winner. Like that was the most legit meet I've ever heard of. But the WRPF seems to have dissolved slowly anyways. Like you don't see or hear those meets
nearly as much.
So this was probably boiling somewhere.
Probably so, yeah. So throughout my tenure, I have been subjected to underpayment. I'm not going to get into the details of these. Late and improper payroll practices, constant issues and lack of transparency with WRPF funds, sabotage of work, unpaid debts and financial irresponsibility, which sounds a little bit similar to the earlier ones, and issues with their like who owns their URLs and all of that business. And I guess that my question is not really specific to WRPF, but to all the things we're talking about. Why is it so fucked up among federations in powerlifting, and do other sports that use a federation model have these kinds of problems? And like, my gut wants to say that and this is highly prejudicial, but fuck you, that it's the drugs. It's the fact that these are largely untested federations, and that, you know, being on steroids gives people like license to do shit that's like self-serving and stupid.
No, it's proven. It's proven to lower your IQ in certain doses and longevity. It's proven to raise your they put it in fancier terms, but your ego, like your self-absorption, literally is proven to go up with copious amounts of steroids. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I do have many a theory though.
But then in my mind, then there would be less in the tested federations, and I don't know that that's true. It's just maybe the kinds of problems they have are different, but the amount of problems seem to be on the similar side.
Yeah, like the perversion seems to be on the untested, but that's only what's been caught.
Yeah.
So that's where my main theory is I think there's actually a documentary. It just was like filmed kind of slow, although the topic highly interests me, about FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, how fucking corrupt that is.
Notably corrupt, yeah.
And probably the richest of these federations. I'm not sure exactly, but I'd imagine they're up there, maybe even beating like PGA type world. Like there's an insane amount of money in history there. My thought is that they're all corrupt. They're all fucked. And that powerlifting is just small enough to get caught still. Right? They're too dumb. The bigger you get, to do crime, you got to be more complex and sneaky. And so like the FIFA's been around since 1750 or some shit. I don't know. It's been around forever. There's so much money, there's so much power that they've already figured it out. Where these powerlifting feds are popping up, like weeds, and they're just not as organized with their trash. And a lot of it, this does sound prejudiced, but this is just 100% just what we've dealt with over the last 20 years, Jim and I, is the tested world seems to be an organizational mishandlings. Like, where's the money? Why's the money? Why are you fucking up the Fed? Where the untested often seems to be more personal, out of sport issues, right? Like there's in-sport issues also, but a lot of it is character, moral, out of sport, where that is probably possible and common in the USAPL and powerlifting America, but it doesn't seem as criminally driven. Just as many issues and moral issues for sure, but the spectrum seems and maybe it is steroids, because then I don't know, going back to like Icarus and the FIFA documentaries and other big sports, there's corruption everywhere, but you assume the corruption is shown to be competitive to win something or be money driven. But a lot of times in powerlifting, and I'm sure it's in bodybuilding, maybe we're just not deep enough to hear about it.
That's probably the case for sure, yeah.
But, and you hear about some of it, like the judges interacting with competitors in inappropriate ways.
Yeah, right.
CrossFit has had a past of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Power positions interacting with athletes in the wrong way.
Yeah, coaches,
trainers, competitors, maybe CEOs or owners. Like it's all going on, which obviously is out of sport also. So I've always said, like, the stat people throw out, like 50% of successful CEOs are narcissists or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the exact stat anymore or whatever, but I've always said that fitness in the modern era, that percentage is probably like 90%, because you have the regular CEO type mentality to get where you want to get regardless. Then you have the money, and everyone knows that when you have this internet clout in the fitness world, you can make copious amounts of money. And then 3, there's the fame with it, right? And that's just like literally the witch's recipe for a narcissist. Like, you get them rich, famous, and powerful. Like, what else would they want? So you take like a fitness CEO online, and the chances that they're psychological. And I don't say narcissist like all you little fuckers on Twitter and Instagram just throwing that word around. I'm talking about like diagnosably, like personality disorder, narcissist, is probably insanely high. And so I'd imagine the type of people that want to run a fed at the top level, right? Like we like to run meets because we want to give back to the sport that helped us.
It's not because we enjoy them.
yeah, it's just not that crazy, and it's not that hungry about it. Like, they're fine. It's fine, so we do them. I feel bad sometimes because, the kids are like, you excited for the meet? I'm like, yeah, man, it's like Saturday. Like, that's cool. I want to be really excited, but look, man, I've been to hundreds of meets. It's just not that exciting no more, But the person that wants to be the top of that, to run everything and make the money and have the clout and have the fame and have all these little people, running their shit, probably edges on the side of not great human a lot of times.
Yeah, I think that is true. And also not necessarily the smartest people in the world.
Especially, because if you're really smart, you're going to go try to dominate some other
sport where there's more advantage.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's kind of true. Like, I mean, especially in the powerlifting world that I came up in the the untested side, the geared side. I think that you were always kind of surprised when you met someone who had a real fucking job,
Yeah.
like a somebody who was a real professional. And that's no slam against people who are not, but like the life experience of someone who ends up in a real professional position is very different from someone who doesn't.
Powerlifting was a blue collar sport.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone was a contractor, prison guard, a plumber, right? Like that was 95% of the active competitors.
Yeah.
Besides maybe some West Side guys who, or you're a drug dealer. I don't know if that's considered blood.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Is that blue collar? What's drug dealing? I don't know what drug dealing is.
I think you can afford to buy white collars, but you might still be blue collar.
Yeah,
I don't know what you
like
think,
it's still
Sebastian.
a grind.
I think it's an orange collar.
Yeah, I don't know what it. Yeah,
it could certainly
collar.
end up being an orange collar. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's literally everyone you met, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone did something like that, and then you're right. Like we had a teammate who was a politician, and you're like, oh, like that's rare.
Yeah.
And then even Robot, or you had some college kids who were a little younger. Our buddy Robot's like a genius and studying mechanical engineering.
We had two guys get PhDs in STEM.
We're not saying all powerlifters are stupid, but it tends to work well with a very routine life and someone that likes physical labor. It makes sense.
Yeah, and furthermore, like the people who end up running things are not necessarily the people who have like big careers outside of powerlifting.
No, they're the powerlifting coach evolved.
Yeah.
And the amount of dedication to their craft of powerlifting is probably greater than their dedication of craft to running an organized whatever.
And there are not that many people in the world who are actually set up to be able to organize, something that is difficult to organize.
Yeah.
Herding cats, essentially.
Yeah. Not everyone's even made to be a coach. Not everyone's made to be a manager. Not everyone's made to be an executive, and not everyone's made to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's the sad truth. And so I think that's part of it in powerlifting too, where it made the crimes maybe more along those lines versus like FIFA. I bet you to get to the top of FIFA, it is more of a corporate ladder.
Probably so.
So that guy probably has a PhD in whatever business marketing, so those guys probably have a different hurdles to cross to get up there. And I imagine the same with the NBA. It's a mix of politics and business to get up there, to be the commissioner or whatever. But powerlifting nowadays, part of the issue is that the sport grew, but like that boardroom didn't grow.
Yeah.
It's the same folk, or it's new of the same folk.
Mm-hmm.
And not all of them. There's some great chairmen we've dealt with in the sports, and great coaches and great businessmen that we've dealt in the sport, but a fat chunk of them, are a little twisty.
To give an example from our lives, and I think I may have mentioned this on the show before, but it bears repeating because it still pisses me off. We had the meet that we just had a few weeks ago here. It was scheduled for a long time. The meet director we were using somehow fell out of favor with USAPL, and the USAPL assigned the meet to somebody else and didn't talk to us.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're hosting it, but So, but we're not renting out a Legion Hall, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
when there's no contract, what makes it like good and bad. If there's no contract, then you should go further to like help.
Right.
You know, like we're helping the U.S. and I've said this multiple times too. Like we're helping these federations more than they're helping us.
Yeah.
The USAPL has done literally nothing for us.
Right.
And we've fed them tons of lifters, hype, and money.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
like we could run non-sanctioned stuff and we'd have the exact same turnout, and we have. So like that's something again, and just like the brains of those people.
Yeah, it just somehow that those of us who are, you know, willing and excited to have a meet in our facility benefits our lifters, but not, you know, doesn't benefit us in a monetary way that much.
No, and there's no like bennies, you know, like that's something that I think a lot of business folk don't understand. Like I'm getting way better at it now, but there's two things that come to mind when you do business. Like one is separating the emotional from the business. Like that's a difficult thing to do, right? Because people are hopefully working and things they're passionate about, but making your decisions, you have to isolate those factors. And then two, it's okay to be transactional, but everyone has to win. And so I've had, obviously, every morning I wake up to 5 emails of some kind of business proposition from something, whether it be something about the gym or something about my YouTube or a supplement company. And people don't understand, like, the equal opportunity here. Like, you got to do something for me if I want to do something for you. We're not best friends.
You got to balance the equation.
Yeah, we're literally, you're reaching out to my business email to do business. We're not buddies. If my mom calls me, it doesn't have to be transactional.
Yeah.
I do things for her and don't expect.
Right.
That's my mother, right? If Bart hits me up and if you hit me up, even in business, but even besides business, right? We're friends. It's different.
Yeah.
Hey, drive my car. I need a fucking tow or whatever the fuck. Yeah, change my battery. I need help. All right. Like, but when we're not even acquaintances, let alone we are acquaintances, and now you're trying to do business. Like, what is the proposition that makes me want to do any of this? And I've had multiple conversations in person and online or last month where like people present these things. I'm like, what's in it for me? And I'm not selfish, but that's how business. I have to worry about feeding my team and keeping the lights on. Yeah. So like, what are we doing here? And the U.S. and all these feds, to be honest, have gotten away with robbery in some senses. A smaller gym or someone who's not as into the culture might benefit, right? Because they get to put the USAPL banner up and they get to go on, and then they're on the website. So when people are searching meets, you know, they might randomly find a meet in their area for a newer gym or someone. But like, we've been in the sport so long, we just don't need that. You know, like we'll sell out whatever we do. Like I said, it could be non-sanctioned and we're still going to sell it out. So like, what are these feds doing for the meet directors? What are these feds doing for the gyms? What are the feds doing really for the culture? And they're definitely not doing anything for the lifter. We already know that part.
Yeah. I think that part of it is just not understanding how business works. And you get a lot of people, and I would be willing to bet that most of the people that are reaching out to you are like, you know, new college grads that are, you know, first job in some business, and so they don't understand how it's supposed to work. They're just doing what they're told.
Yeah, or
there's no logic to it at all. Or
everyone's just a random salesman now, but they actually have no experience doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like like some supplement companies, like, yeah, man, you get one of anything you choose and just post, you know, 5 times. You're giving me a $30 bottle of pre-workout, and you want me to film 5 videos, like. You know, and post it on my own shit. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Or when you know, when you're working with somebody who has a product and they tell you that, you know, that doing something with them is going to, you know, give you more Instagram followers or whatever. And it's like, no, I think it probably is the other way around.
Yeah, it's just never happened. Yeah. It's never happened. And then there are opportunities for stuff like that, which I've talked to, like Zoom calls and stuff with companies where, like, yeah, we'll create content together and, like, actual collaboration that benefits both sides. There's tons of shit there. But most of these people just have, I don't know if it's a lack of creativity or logic or what, but, yeah, I feel like these powerlifting feds are the exact same way. They're doing jack shit. The money one was good. Yeah, the current seemed good. I don't know the depths of this drama, but
and I'm not going to get that down deep into it. But I mean, actually, just another thing that has come up recently, and I am going to thank Tanner of Massonomics for actually listening to the podcast of the guy whose company has taken over Kabuki.
Oh, yeah.
To get the actual story.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the tease.
I didn't. I talked to Chris briefly, and I understand like what his situation is now, but I did not know how it had come together. I did not ask him, because he didn't volunteer anything, and that's his prerogative. It's his business. But so apparently, what happened is that Kabuki has never made money, and they took a $2 million loan from a company that acquires a lot of small businesses and does not really operate in the fitness space. Oh. And they were not able to make any of the debt service on that.
Yeah.
And so
big
they
business
just came
like
in
that
and
is crazy.
Came in and took them over.
Yeah, and then what do? You just run off with bad credit? Like, how does that play out? I just saw something on my Twitter feed about, like, I don't know if it was New York or Dubai, or someone just built like a $250 million tower, and they're like, already in debt service. I'm like, what? Now what?
Yeah.
Like,
you're fucked.
Yeah, what the fuck do you do now?
Yeah. No, that's a problem. And I mean,
Bro, I don't know. I get nervous when I get like a $15 fee in my Chase account. $250 million, and you thought you'd build a building and fucking make money,
and nobody's there.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I was in the room when Chris made the decision to start Kabuki.
Yeah, we were definitely in his vicinity multiple trips down here when he was debating leaving his job and going full time.
And I think we all admired the work that they did.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's just, sometimes it's a dream and not a reality about profitability and the customer service around fulfilling orders or whatever. And it really sounds like this new ownership is like going to push into the more of the mainstream Gen Pop fitness kind of realm.
Yeah, business is hard. There's so many different things, and what you see is marketing and branding, but you don't see how the X's and O's on the back end are actually functioning at all.
Yeah,
and if they have holes in them, or they're just not making money, or there's a million things that can go wrong. But that's slightly, I feel like, the negative of the internet, right? It's probably less likely you have that image 30 years ago,
right?
And you're still like, your success kind of speaks for itself back then. But now you can fake anything. And not that they were faking it, but you know what I mean? Like from the outside.
Oh, yeah, you can present a particular kind of image of success that may not comport with reality at all.
Right. And many people do. And some do that for ego, and some do, some of it you have to do to sell your product.
Right.
Right? You can't tell the story of being broke and no one wants your shit.
I mean, kind of a related thing to that is, say, like a small-time actor on a very successful show.
Yeah.
And so they get known for that or whatever. And so everybody assumes that they got rich over it.
Right.
And that they're, and that they're successful, and that there'll be opportunities for them in the future to play different characters.
Yeah, but no one's giving them another shot.
And nobody's necessarily giving them another shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. It's highly possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, fitness equipment, talk about a business that was so like small that just exploded with the internet.
Yeah.
Like, I bet you over the last 10 years, there's probably 5 to 10 highly successful manufacturers that have come about.
Yeah, the Rogue being the king of that.
Rogue for sure. Yeah, a little more on the 20-year mark. Rogue, even like, what's the main one out of Tennessee? Arsenal. Yeah, Arsenal. Like, again, I don't know their X's and O's, but I see their shit in gyms and online. They're crushing it. Even Panada's not as old, I don't think. Like, there's a lot of companies that are like coming out of nowhere. Bells of Steel with the home gym stuff. Like, I don't think they're older than 10 years.
Oh, Watson.
Watson's a little bit older, but still probably in like the 2030. Like back in the day, there's like 4 companies. There's like Matrix, Lifetime.
Yeah,
that's it. That's where you bought everything. And then very specialized, like a Leica or something, Texas or whatever. But even in the powerlifting scene, just powerlifting, there's fucking 30 bars now.
Did we need that many?
Yeah. And are they actually an improvement on what's going on?
No.
Right? They don't look different. They don't function different. Yeah.
Little tweaks.
Like shoes and clothes, I understand, because there's like a different style. Like there's an optics to it, and you want to feel good and look good and stuff. But like to a functional product, they all, 98% look identical. 95% feel the same.
Yeah.
So like, what are we doing beyond that with a barbell?
Yeah, that's, in marketing they talk about unique selling proposition.
Yeah, right.
And what's your unique selling proposition that actually is salient for people and that's gonna take them in a particular direction? I don't know.
Yeah, barbell just can't change that much because of the regulations of the sport.
Yeah, No, I mean, this is no slam on our friends who actually review equipment and talk about the differences and stuff. It's just like the question I have for
it's more the manufacturer business side.
Yeah, but the question I have for somebody like Brandon Diamond, Campbell Diamond, is how much do these differences matter in performance?
Yeah, I think he would admit, one, he's in a privileged enough state to purchase a lot of these things and play with them.
Mm-hmm.
Two, he's been powerlifting a long time, so he's trying to find some fun and excitement in the nitty-gritty.
Mm-hmm.
And then he enjoys it. He's like kind of a tech nerd, and he always has been. Even before his equipment take off, Brandon, for those that don't know, because he's had like a revitalization through equipment. Like he was just like a fitness vlogger.
Yeah.
But even back then when I watched his stuff, he was really into cameras and stuff. He's always kind of been into tech, and so now he's just into metal tech.
And some of it's aesthetics too. I mean,
for sure.
And that doesn't really matter. I mean,
yeah, not to me.
It mattered to us in the way we set up our gym,
right? But a barbell is going to be a barbell.
But a barbell's a barbell.
Yeah. I'm still like a Texas power bar, and everyone talks shit on it. But I've just never once. There is a difference between a good power bar and a bar you would use at a commercial gym. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, yeah, I'm pretty up, and I consider myself kind of a gear whore. I like nice shit, but it's just so minuscule when it comes to a barbell, and then it's just brand loyalty, I guess. But there's just too many because, I just compare to other stuff. I would argue a basketball and the feel of a basketball has greater impact than the feel of a barbell if it's within the, qualified rules of the sport. And basketball doesn't even have that many balls. There's fucking 3 main companies.
Yeah. Golf balls.
Golfs are crazy, and I'm just probably not good enough to know the difference. Because there are a shit ton of golf balls.
But we're talking about the difference. It might be 1 to 2%, or maybe 5% would be a lot, but 1 to 2% for your average person at the most.
Yeah.
If you're in the top of a sport, it might be different. But even that's going to come down to preference, and then who's going to sign you to a contract.
Yeah, it's just money. Especially in golf, I think it's just money because it's an upper echelon sport, and there's a bit of style about the sport, right? It's historically been a stylish sport, so to have your own ball with your logo on it, it's just cool. I made fun of the whole squad here. Kurt Navarro, who ran our meet flawlessly. Shout out to Kurt from San Diego.
Yeah, awesome dude.
He was in here lifting the other day, and he was probably the biggest deadlifter in the room at the time. He's pulling 500 for reps or something. I think he pulls in the high 6s, and he had whatever bar was there, and he had a bunch of pound plates on. So of course I start chirping at all our young kids that's crazy, man. Why are the strongest dude in the gym just throw on whatever plates and I'll give a fuck, And it really is the old saying. Louis made it famous in powerlifting, but it's been a basketball saying forever. $1 million move and a 10-cent finish. He said $1 million shoes and 1 cent squat or whatever he said, and I don't know who said it first, but it's just so true. Majoring in the minors, there's a million terms for it, but why are we caring about what shoe I have on when you've deadlifted for 6 months?
Right.
That shoe is not holding you back from the 5-plate deadlift.
No, definitely not. I got one thing to close with here. We talk at times about what other sports could be out there that haven't been invented yet, or have been invented and haven't caught traction yet, or whatever. I think I can put this up on the screen. Hold on. Hello. There we are. Got a mirror. Oops. Mirror. TV. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Oh, hold on. Well, screw it. I'll just show you on the iPad. This I thought was just crazy. It's 4 guys hanging from a square
and fighting
thing off the ground and fighting with their legs.
Yeah, it's American Gladiator-esque.
Yes.
Yeah, I dig it.
And one guy does ultimately win in this clip.
That thing's swinging. That'd be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally is. I think we talked about American Gladiator supposed to have a UK revamp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I bet you it's good. I wish more shows like that would come about.
Yeah,
it's good.
This one. Yeah.
And I guess they did. What was the Korean one? Was it Korean? Fit 100 or something like that.
Fitness 100. Yeah, we did. We actually talked about that one.
But that was just kind of underwhelming to me.
I thought it was super underwhelming.
Yeah.
I thought it was like everybody's jacked, but I don't care.
Yeah. Mr. Beast will be doing shit like that, I guess. Mr. Beast really is crazy. I don't really watch like YouTube like that, but I'll see his clips. Like he just did a video. Like he's obviously got shit tons of money, which opens doors, but he's also is creative. He was trying to do like best experience by dollar amount. You know, so you do like best $1 experience, best $100 experience, best $10,000 experience, best 50, best 100K, best whatever. And like, yeah, he like rented a submarine for like 50K, and the submarine's taking him around the ocean for like a couple hours. So
as long as you're not trying to go to the Titanic, I think.
Yeah, as long as it's not controlled by a N64 remote.
Is that a Halloween costume?
What about that story, huh? That just disappeared too.
Gone.
They found the wreckage.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, but did you see the video of the guy whose costume was like the sub was on his head, and like the bubble was where his face was?
Bad. So
it's
bad.
Just like poor taste, but still funny.
No, it's funny. Fuck 'em. Halloween's made for it. Halloween's made for the memes. That's the internet has made Halloween better. Because you don't just dress up as like Superman, you know, you're doing like all these memes and like inside jokes, like cultural jokes. Yeah, it's kind of good. I forgot, but I've seen a couple like pretty good ones from that too. Happy Halloween, hoes. Holidays are coming. Couple movies on the way. We're going holiday special. Clothing on the way. So if you want to get involved, you can join the Discord or check out 3sb.co. Very, very soon. Teases on the Instagram. Good Company 3sb on Instagram. I'm Solomon Mike, where you want to find me, and new episodes every Wednesday.
I'm at the Seabass, where are you at?
I am Sebastian _Brambila on IG.
I'm at the Jim McDonald. All the social media of the show is 50% facts, where percent is a word, 50 is just numbers. 50% facts is a Spreaker Prime podcast in association with iHeartMedia on the Obscure Celebrity Network. We'll talk next time.